All right, let's do Pray for the Devil. Pray for the Devil. Pray for the Devil is the new horror movie that is out right now. It is starring, let me pull up here, it's directed by Daniel Stamm and directed and starring Jacqueline Byers here. It's all about a nun who prepares to perform an exorcism, on a little girl. And it's all detailing the church and how it deals with exorcisms. And then obviously Jacqueline Byers being a woman and being a nun. Obviously, a lot of sexism there, dealing with that, being in the organization and having to kind of fight against that amongst the male priests. Her being, her trying to perform an exorcism, she'd be kind of one of the first women to ever do that, as they say in the film. So it's kind of, she has to overcome these challenges. And it is dealing with exorcism as an exorcism type movie. And you're going to see a lot of the very familiar exorcist type, tropes that you'll see, because I don't think any exorcist movie has really topped, of course, the legendary one, which is, it hasn't really topped that legendary one. And
no, you can't.
Yeah, it's kind of impossible to kind of top that film, which is The Exorcist, which is, that's pretty much goated. It's not even considered one of the best horror movies. It's considered just one of the best movies of all time, period, which came out all the way back in 1973. So a lot of other movies have tried to kind of replicate that formula and do a lot of kind of similarities. And you'll see kind of a lot of stuff that here with like the little girl, which stuff she does. And the little girl's name is Natalie, is the little girl's name. And you kind of see some of that stuff there of, the crawling up the walls and, creepy things that the kids say and everything like that.
A whole bunch of the contortionist stuff. And that's kind of where I'm at with this movie, because I'm not a big fan of the entire demonic possession subgenre of horror. It's just one of those things that never really grabbed me personally, outside of very few isolated examples like The Exorcist, like that film from 2013, I believe, starring Jeffrey D. Morgan, called The Possession. I think those are the standouts in this entire subgenre. Besides those, you kind of get a lot of the same beats from other possession films, like the possessed child saying a bunch of creepy stuff, the props in the room flying around, candles suddenly going out, a lot of jump scares, a lot of the body contortioning stuff that you see in like every single one of these kinds of movies.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you'll get a lot of those kind of things. That it doesn't make it kind of stand out and make it feel kind of memorable at all. And it just kind of fades into the background of like other horror movies that you'll see, and there's nothing that really particularly stands out, I think, and that's kind of the biggest failure of this movie. I thought the lead of the film, I thought she would have been, I think she deserved a better film, because I think she was really doing her best to carry it. And you have Jacqueline Byers here, who plays Sister Anne. And the storyline is somewhat interesting, like her being, like this woman in this kind of male-dominated field, her trying to really overcome that and do these exorcisms, perform these exorcisms. I thought that was somewhat interesting, kind of a story there that you could have kind of played with and done some good things with. But I think ultimately it's kind of just let down by kind of like a flat script and just kind of flat direction all around. What did you think about her lead performance there?
Jacqueline Byers, her character Anne, is easily the best thing about this movie. It's because, her performance is elevating very, very mediocre material. And it is kind of interesting to look at a possession film through this lens of this nun who is attempting to be one of the first female exorcists, which is something we don't really see in this genre. And that's kind of also a problem with the possession horror film in general, because all of them are essentially the exact same plot. There's only like one small key difference between all of them. And that dynamic, I don't think is explored enough in this film, because almost as soon as we get a hint of conflict with Anne trying to sit in on the exorcism classes, immediately she has a sympathetic ear who's played by I'm blanking on the actor's name, but he plays Tony from 13 Reasons Why.
Okay. I know the actor that you're talking about. Let me see if I can kind of grab his name here, but I know exactly the actor you're talking about. Kristen Navarro is his name.
It's like, yeah, there's conflict hinted at, but it's not explored, because 3 seconds after she's sitting in, he's like, "Hey, you want to help us out with this?" And it's like, okay, you kind of just threw away one of the more interesting conflicts in your movie.
Yeah, he plays Father Dante in the movie. He's a little bit more, open-minded about having her kind of sit in and being a part of the class as opposed to maybe some other people. Even though that kind of, like you said, it kind of goes away pretty quickly of like some people feeling kind of antagonistic towards her. Because you have a kind of another character in this movie who's a guy, his name is Nicholas Ralph, who plays Father Raymond. He's a little bit more antagonistic, towards her. But that goes away pretty quick after they have their first like exorcism training, and they kind of like go outside for drinks. It's like kind of they're cool now, it seems like. So it's kind of like, okay, that kind of goes away pretty quickly. But how did you kind of like the exploration, kind of like, I guess, the lore of this movie, how they're talking about exorcisms and kind of doing this in the movie?
Well, I don't think it really explores the entire concept of exorcism or a lot of those themes. I think what this film was trying to do was tackling similar subject matter to another film that we talked about earlier this year with Smile, where it was trying to introduce the elements of mental illness and talk about how that and symptoms of demonic possession can tend to overlap. But I think that the movie is introducing those concepts and wants to add a little bit of gray to them, but it completely abandons it, because I think a big problem with this movie is that I don't think it knows what I think it knows too well what audience it is going for, because this is a PG-13 horror movie. It is going for that midnight teenage audience to pack up the theater, have a couple like jump scares for the entire runtime. And I think because of that, it squanders the opportunity to really dive deep into a lot of these themes that it's presenting.
Yeah. And you bring up Smile, and watching the trailer for Smile, which was, I thought, very underwhelming. You should go see the movie, and it's this big surprise of the depth that it has. This one, I think, if you see the trailer, it's basically what you get from watching the trailer. It's it's just kind of
it's a case of it gave away the entire third act in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. And they try to do kind of like a little bit of a twist in the movie a little bit there towards the end. I don't know if you saw the twist coming or not. But I mean, did you
I saw it from like frame one.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, kind of see where this is kind of going to go and where it's kind of going to end up there. I mean, I don't think the twist is
and it's a twist that could have been impactful, but I think the film is just trying so quickly to get to the next jump scare that it doesn't have time to really set up that twist or to make it even somewhat emotionally impactful.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, I think it's appealing to an audience of people that, it's like, hey, listen, it probably wasn't made for a lot of money. I can look at the budget on this. Let me, if I can pull up the budget, but it probably wasn't made for that much money. You don't really have any big names in this movie. So you probably save money there as well. And it's something you can just pump out really quickly and, deliver. Some people, horror movies are better off kind of going to get a return on its budget. And so it's kind of like, okay, we just make this real quick to pack the audience full of kind of teenagers and that kind of audience. And then they're going to be able to watch it, and we're going to get our money back quickly on it. I think that's kind of one of the main goals of it. So I think the execution of there wasn't really much great execution. And the director of this movie, he did Last Exorcism, so he's got experience doing exorcism. He did Last Exorcism, and then he did a movie called 13 Sins as well, which I've never heard of. I've never heard of that film myself.
Yeah, neither have I. I did I kind of liked some parts of The Last Exorcism. It was kind of an interesting spin on the genre where they were doing it as a found footage film.
Yeah. And I would have loved it more in the movie if they kind of explored more the depth of, you know what I mean, this kind of field and what they were kind of doing. Kind of similar to something like I guess you would see like in maybe like something like a show like Supernatural, where they really get into some of the lore of some of the different
Mm.
things. I don't think they do that enough in this movie. And you know, I think she's trying her best. Like I said, I think she is one of the best parts of this movie. She is Jacqueline Byers, who's the
Mhm.
leader. I think she's one of the best parts, and she tries her best to elevate this kind of basic material. And eventually, but I think all of it is just kind of flat and forgettable. And
Mhm.
I'm struggling to remember all of the details of this movie, and I saw it just Friday. So yeah, I mean, you know, and this is we talked about it before. This has been a good year for horror. A lot of different things that
Mhm.
came out that have been really good.
Yeah.
You know, and shame that this one really, kind of just dropped the ball on that. I think. I mean, this one is, yeah. I mean,
Mm.
you know, just something cheap you could watch, maybe just sitting at home. Maybe if you could maybe get some enjoyment there. But I don't even think it's that exciting to just watch at home because it's just PG-13. I don't even think it's that kind of exciting. And if you've watched any other Exorcism movie, you basically know all the good scary stuff parts of what's going to happen there because a lot of it is kind of copy and paste. For me, I just give it a skip it for me. What
Mm.
about you?
I think that this film, amongst other things, it's just disappointing because, again, this has been such a great stacked year for horror from stuff like Scream, X, Pearl, The Northman, Smile, Barbarian, even at least on my end, something like Terrifier 2, that it's kind of disappointing that this is the horror film we get on Halloween weekend. And credit where it's due. Jacqueline Byers, I think she is phenomenal in this. She is elevating what is at best a mediocre script. I think there are some interesting direction choices from Daniel Stam, who I think he is kind of somebody to look out for whatever his next project is going to be. But unfortunately, the script is just kind of middling. It has every single beat for beat, every single possession film. Even when I was drafting up my notes for this, I had to like double check IMDb to make sure I was talking about the right movie
Mm.
because this is so similar to other demonic possession films. I'm at the same place as you are. This is a skip it movie. If you see one possession film, you kind of seen them all.
Yeah, I can't remember the last Great Possession movie I've watched. I'm trying to think of maybe one.
I'd say either Exorcism of Emily Rose or Deliver Us from Evil.
Okay, yeah. I don't remember much from Exorcism, Emily Rose. That was the one with uh, Dexter Morgan's sister, right? Jennifer Carpenter, right?
Yeah, that was the one with Alfred Molina as the exorcist.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it came out in '05. Yeah. I thought that was a great performance from her, Jennifer Carpenter, Emily Rose. I mean, that was, I thought, really amazing performance from her. Yeah. Yeah, so two skippets for Pray for the Devil.